Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel, Tarot by Bronx. This is Tarot Talk. These are Tarot Things, and I'm your host, Boogie Down Bronx, here to take care of everybody who's interested. Well, mainly my Virgo and Pisces group, but anybody else who might be interested in the upcoming retrogrades and eclipse mashup collaboration. All right. So, we're not doing tarot today. We're talking about astrology. Let me put my notes up so I can read them accordingly. So, yeah, welcome to February. This is month 2 out of 18 for the nodes in Pisces and Virgo transit. Thank you all for watching. Everybody who's on here, you are going to be either on my YouTube. I am going to put this out on YouTube. This is one of the few videos I will release on YouTube so everybody can have an idea of what's going on. So I don't have to keep repeating it because a lot of people have been asking me, what is the eclipse and what is the retrograde and this and that and the third. And so, yeah, I have been putting out little hints out there about what is happening, but I felt like I needed to do an in-depth video. But this is mainly for my Pisces and Virgo and Pisces group on Patreon that we've been building up to this. We just finished our nodes series where the North and South node are transiting in the birth chart for the next 18 months. And now we're moving on to the eclipse and retrograde. All right. So this is the retrograde and eclipse survival guide, episode 1. All right. Episode 1 for this. And we're going to go over the basics here. And yeah, if you want to learn more, if you have Virgo or Pisces placements, highly recommend getting into the group. We had open enrollment. There's still a couple of spots left over from open enrollment, but if you're interested, you can either DM me. I'll put the link in the description box to join. One of the tiers are discounted, but yeah, if you come in, we do monthly Q&As, we do live streams, we do all kind of stuff. And you get your questions answered directly from me or the group. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this episode 1. Let's break this thing down. So this one, we're talking about retrogrades. If you want to know more about like the eclipses coming up, you will have to be in the group because this is just about the retrogrades. But we do have the retrograde Mercury and Venus overlapping with eclipse season in March. So that is what we are preparing for as a collective. Now, what is a retrograde planet? All right, when you hear about people saying retrogrades this and Mercury retrograde that, what is that? What does that really mean? So a retrograde planet is when a planet appears to be moving backwards in our solar system or from our view from Earth when we see it in outer space. It's not actually moving backwards. It's an optical illusion, though. But some planets go retrograde more than others. The sun doesn't retrograde. The moon doesn't. Rising is not a planet, but Mercury, Venus, and Mars are the main ones that go retrograde, mostly Mercury. But yeah, the phenomenon that occurs during retrograde means that the planet's usual function, whatever the planet represents, slows down or becomes more inverted and introspective. Okay, so it's moving back, appearing to move backwards, and the normal directory of what that planet represents is slowed down or it's distorted a bit. Okay, so like I said, Mercury, Mars, Venus. Mars is currently retrograde. It's about to go direct soon. It's been retrograding in Cancer. Not really a fun transit. It's actually been pretty volatile, Mars in Cancer, to be honest, for the last couple months. Or like like since December. Mercury is going retrograde March 15 in Aries. Then it will retrograde all the way back into Pisces. Venus goes retrograde March 1st in Aries and back into Pisces. All right. So that's what we're dealing with, an overlap of 2 retrogrades plus an eclipse at the same time. This hasn't happened in a very, 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 very long time. I think we did have a Mercury retrograde and eclipse combo. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but we haven't had a Venus, Mercury, and eclipse. I don't even remember since I've been an astrologer the last 6 years, if we've had it yet. But there's also something called a shadow period, pre-shadow period and a post-shadow period. It is roughly 2 to 3 weeks before the actual retrograde period. So it's like it's building up to when the planet is about to go retrograde or after it ends before it fully goes like back direct. So the shadow periods are something to pay attention to as well, because you can already start to notice some themes of the retrograde happening. Some people say the retrograde shadow period is harsher, is worse. Sometimes I do resonate with that, even though my Mercury is retrograde in my chart. So let's talk a little bit about the planets here that's about to go retrograde. That is significant in March. So we got Mercury retrograde, all right? So the planet Mercury rules over communication, travel, transportation, thinking, messages, the mind. It governs Virgo and Gemini, all right? So when it's moving backwards, there's a revision of this planet, this area, but depending on your chart. So you could have, if you got like Virgo placements or Gemini placements, sometimes you're affected no matter what, because Mercury rules over Virgo and Gemini. But there's a revising based on the house that whatever the planet sign is in, it's transiting through that house. So yeah, the most common themes though for Mercury retrograde, Jojo in the back, just don't care. The most common theme for Mercury retrograde though is delays in communication, just travel delays, disruptions, challenges, technology glitches, reconnecting with the past, revisiting things, slowing down, and some self-reflection. All right, so that's Mercury. Now with Venus retrograde. So Venus is a planet of love, attraction, values, money, and relationships. All right. And so when this planet is about to go retrograde, which it doesn't retrograde as often, maybe every few years or so. I think we had one last year. Yeah, we did have one last 2 years. Yeah, sometimes it's about once a year, once every few years. But you can expect to have some relationship issues come up, some conflicts with people, not just romantic. Okay. Reevaluation, past relationships may come back to the surface. Could be issues, quarrels with friends, business partners. You're reviewing finances, reviewing your relationship to yourself, your self-esteem, etc. Some relationship is going to be evaluated, and you can look at the house you have, whatever sign. So we're going to get into the signs soon. So whatever sign the Venus retrograde is happening in is where you will be reevaluating your relationship to something there. Okay. Or addressing some issues with things there. Now, if you want to know, like I said, more about which house you'll have this happening in, we're going to look into it now. But for more details, that is only on my Patreon. You can DM me on either of my Patreons, really. But for the in-depth videos where I'm going to go through each house and explain is in the Virgo and Pisces group. All right. So the effects of the Venus and Mercury retrograde. So which two signs are going to be most affected by this? Aries and Pisces. All right. So we're looking at the Aries and Pisces area. Aries and Pisces area of our house. Okay. So what we're looking at here is, because the retrograde is starting in Aries, is going back into Pisces. Aries is going to feel this most intensely when it comes down to practicing mindfulness and patience, if we're talking about Mercury especially. And observing where you struggle with impulsivity, or in the Aries house, you're looking at where you are a bit impulsive, or where you need to slow down, where you need to be more mindful. Could also be where you need to stand up for yourself or be more assertive. All right. And then Pisces is at the end of the month. All right. So this is going to be where there's more heightened emotions. There's more like intuitive things that we have to make decisions about. There could be some emotional conversations. There could be, things that we have to really heal within ourselves, facing our addictions, our problems that we have not resolved. Okay. So that is actually all of my notes I have here. That's all my notes I have here for Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde. So to recap everything that I just talked about, 2 retrogrades coming up. All right, 2 retrogrades coming up. March 1st is the first one, Venus retrograde, March 15th, also corresponding with the eclipse at the same time in Virgo, which we will talk about in the group. But yeah, so we have these retrogrades happening. All in all, retrogrades are a time of revising something, and we're looking at the houses in which we have these 2 signs mainly for what is being revised, what needs to slow down, what we need to look over, where we need to heal something, where we might need to address some issues, some problems. Yes, we all have all 12 houses. Okay, so in some house systems, Placidus, for example, you may have an intercepted house where you don't see all 12. Maybe there's 2 of the same sign. But if you Google whole signs chart, you will see your layout is perfectly aligned where you can see all 12 houses. And then you will know which house you have Aries and which house you have Pisces. But you also have to know your time of birth to accurately get your rising sign, which can set up your houses. All right. On my regular Patreon and my Virgo and Pisces Patreon, I do have the mini survival guide with the notes there too, with some pointers, some tips, and we'll be expanding on that. But yeah, for the next episode, episode 2 will be the do's and don'ts of Mercury and Venus retrograde, because there are a lot of things that you should be doing and some things you should not do, you should avoid doing. So we'll talk about that for both. And then the third episode will be surviving the eclipses and what you need to know, what eclipses mean, what's happening, what house to look at for those, preparing for them, like how to prepare for a solar eclipse, how to prepare for a lunar eclipse, what things you could possibly expect. And so, yeah, we're kind of just going with that. And then we'll have our Q&A at the end of the month. But yeah, this is what's happening. And hopefully this answers your questions. Some of you are asking what's going on. Why is Aries and Pisces evolved? Blah, blah, blah. But we're going to go through all the extra details of which houses, what's happening, what relationship stuff is coming up, or health or money or whatever. And if you have questions, leave your comments below. But all the other videos will be on my Patreons, mostly in the Virgo and Pisces one. That information will be in the description box down below. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you for following me. And stay tuned. Let's get ready for a really wild, crazy March 2025.